Well, Zahir Sahlul is a member of the Syrian American Medical Society who worked as a doctor in Aleppo during the summer. He also went to medical school with President Bashar al-Assad. He joins me live via Skype from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you very much for speaking to us. So let me start by asking you about this hospital that has faced attack in the east of Aleppo. We know that the hospital had already been bombed earlier on in the week. What can you tell us about the destruction caused to this facility? Is it operational in any way?
No. At this point, the hospital has been completely out of service. This last bombing that happened earlier today, the Syrian regime used 2-barrel bombs. They used incendiary bombs and cluster bombs, as if they are attacking a bunker or a large military installation. This is a hospital that I spent time in a couple of months ago. It's an underground hospital for protection. Was bombed 8 times in the last month by the Syrian regime and the Russians. And it's also disastrous for the city of Aleppo because this hospital usually does about 4,000 life-saving surgeries every year. It's the only trauma center in the city. This is the same place that Omran, the boy, was treated in, and to be destroyed as it has been happening today is really a tragedy.
We've seen attacks on medical facilities throughout the conflict. 2015 has certainly seen a surge in bombardments. You were in Aleppo in June, is that correct?
That's correct.
And how would
the end of June.
Sure. And so tell me, I know that you're still in touch with teams on the ground there now, and how does the situation there now compare to when you were physically on the ground a few months ago?
It was terribly disastrous situation when I was there. There was a shortage of medications. Doctors were working under very terrible conditions because hospitals have been attacked. Many physicians in Syria and nurses have been killed. About 750 of them were killed in the last 5 years, according to Physicians for Human Rights. So these are heroes who've been working under extreme conditions, dealing with what they have to deal with, very limited resources, and they're trying to do their job day after day. Right now, the situation is even worse, and I talked with one of the nurses in the same hospital area today after it was bombed, and he was screaming for help. He said, please do something to stop the bombing. Please do something to stop the bombing. And fortunately, the international community is not moving to action. These heroes, these people who are working under extreme conditions, the doctors and the nurses who are remained in Aleppo because they want to serve their local population, are asking for 2 things. Protection from the bombing that the Russians and the Syrian regime have been throwing on them, and also access so they can get medicine so they can treat their patients. For the first time since the beginning of the conflict, we are seeing pictures and videos of children who have severe malnutrition, who have starvation in the city of Aleppo. I've seen pictures of boys who had kwashiorkor and marasmus. These are medical terms for severe malnutrition, similar to the pictures we've seen from the city of Madaya a few months ago.
And if I can ask you about you graduated from medical school, you were studying alongside, or at least familiar with, President Assad. What we're seeing now, what we've seen in the last 5 years, how do you feel about this? Does it come as a surprise to you? I mean, so much has happened, or is it consistent with the sort of characteristics and traits of the person you were familiar with?
I mean, he was nothing special was about him when he was in medical school. I mean, he wasn't brutal. He was not known to be arrogant or ruthless. But what's happening right now, that you have a physician who swore the Hippocratic Oath to protect patients, regardless whether these patients are his friends or his enemies. This is our oath as physicians. And right now he's overseeing the killing of doctors and nurses and patients and destruction of hospitals. It's ironic, to say the least. And at this point, he's really a war criminal. Every hospital that is attacked and every doctor is being killed is a war crime. And it's really ironic that you have a physician, or supposed to be a physician, who is overseeing this destruction. I think what's more ironic is that the international community is letting him doing that and letting the Russians doing that with impunity. We're talking about 350 hospitals that have been destroyed in Syria, 750 doctors and nurses. This is a new normal that is created in this conflict that the international community is tolerating. And besides the words and the description of what's happening, we're not seeing an action to stop this genocide.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zahir Sahlul, for speaking to us there from Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you for having me.